You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're about to preview the India v England second test at Vizag. The big one. England 1-0 up. Can India bounce back? They're all big on this series. In this series, I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. How you doing, Ross?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Nice to see my reverse psychology of switching to being an India fan worked beautifully for the first test match, and feeling pretty smug about it.
I was going to say that. You know what, Ross? I'd actually gone to the bother of clipping that up, and I'm going to play that to you a little bit later in the episode. But yeah, if anyone was in any doubt about why India lost, it's basically because you switched allegiances and brought your curse, the Spurs curse, with them.
The Spurs
with
curse.
You, brother.
Yeah, follows me around like a bad cloud, and I tricked it for once.
This is what we're going to be doing on this show. We're going to get a little bit of reaction from Ross on the first test. He missed the big day 4 wrap with Max and Dan. Then we're going to be looking forward to the second test. We've got some team news. Jack Leach just ruled out. How are England going to shape up? And obviously some pretty big injuries for India for us to discuss as well. And we might have time to revisit some predictions made by one of the podcast crew who isn't available for the podcast today. Ross, let's kick things off. In fact, Ross, before we kick things off, I'm just going to remind people to vote Cricket Podcast, and you can do that by going to the show notes. This is the Sports Podcast Awards. We're up for Best Cricket Podcast, and obviously we want all of the votes that we can get. It's a democratic vote. It should be based on style, control, damage, and aggression, I believe, as all things should be. But in this case, no, they've gone with democracy, and we need your help to win that vote. So go to the link, do the business, and help us out. And we're also around on socials at the Cricket Pod if you want to support us that way. Ross, first test. I'm not going to do a summary or anything like that, but I do want to get a little bit of reaction from you. Did you enjoy England winning, and have you enjoyed the general fallout over the last couple of days?
Yeah, Bazball is a brilliant way of putting it, really, isn't it? Like they've done it again, and the Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum train just rolls on to the next location. They played absolutely fantastically. Where did that Ollie Pope innings come from? The guy looked like he couldn't play spin to save his life, and then comes and plays an innings of his life. And you saw Hartley go from Shartley, which was being mooted as his new nickname, to taking 7 for and the best figures on England debut for a long time. It was a monumental achievement, and you have to wonder around, did India get just a bit complacent on that final, or was it England kind of outplaying them? It felt a little bit like India were a bit too one-dimensional in that space, and when they had such a commanding lead from the first innings, it was I don't know what was the figures. What was WinViz saying? Like 5%, 2%, something like that.
Well, I don't trust WinViz, but I did actually have a look at the betting market before England took the lead. So I think this was at the fall of the Ben Stokes wicket, and England were 1.02, which is about 2%, 2.5%. And look, they might have been a longer shot than that. At that point, there was a chance that Ollie Pope could go on and do what he did when they were 190 behind. Even at that point, you'd have thought, even if someone does get 190, the rest of the team still got to get another 250 between them for this to be realistic. So yeah, mad. Carry on though.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the supporting cast, right? The Rian Ahmed, the Tom Hartley with the bat shouldn't be overlooked. Ben Foakes again with another very important kind of century partnership. And you look at kind of how England seemingly kind of get there. It's, I don't know, every man, like they're almost in the trenches together, aren't they? There's a lot of camaraderie in this team. And what I'm extremely surprised of is that when it comes to the duck race, which last time England were in India, were miles ahead, right? I think they had like 20 odd ducks or something they were covering with. It was ridiculous. It's 1-1 at the moment. So Mark Wood has got the one for England, and Shubman Gill has got the one for India, and that's the sign of how close games actually are. The duck counter, as an England supporter on this occasion until the next test kicks off, because I'm going to repeat that trick if I can. They played very, very well to get to that position, and India will not take this lying down, is my view ahead of this next test match.
Do you know what I've quite enjoyed? The sheer rage that this has inspired from some people. Not really like directed at anybody in particular, more directed at the actual metaphysical concept of Bazball. People are really angry that England are A, playing entertaining cricket, but B, acknowledging that they're trying to play entertaining cricket. And I'm there for it. I'm really enjoying the fact that people are angry that playing entertaining cricket has worked. It seems like such a kind of paranoid state to get into, that you'd actually be raging at England admitting that they're trying to be entertaining whilst pulling off being entertaining. That in a sense, I'm more into that than the actual entertaining cricket itself.
Yeah, I'm completely there with you, if I'm perfectly honest. And if you look at kind of where the aggression is coming from, and kind of, oh yeah, Bazball, a load of shit, cry more, and all that kind of stuff we get on Twitter every single time, there is a bit around where people have watched cricket for the last kind of 40 years, 30 years, kind of look at the demographic who kind of gets angry about this kind of thing. But that is what they've always seen cricket as the game of. And then you've got some innovators. That's what's going on. We've got disruptors that have come into the cricket market and kind of gone, do you know what? In Test cricket, we can do things a little bit differently. And some of this time, it's not going to work, right? This was a freak result, and it was a completely freak performance, but it happened. And they've had a couple of those in the last 2 years since it kind of happened. And I think sometimes a bit of disruption is a good thing. You also saw kind of India trying to do a little bit of what was happening, right? Jaiswal in the first innings, like they were putting the pressure back on and being aggressive, right? I think there is a little bit of teams going, oh shit, like we need to kind of get with the program here. The fact that Duckett and Crawley, like who would have seen that as being an absolutely brilliant partnership of kind of the Jermaine, the Jermaine Defoe, Peter Crouch, they literally, the Sven-Goran Eriksson technique of England's opening is fantastic. And you look at how that just kind of sets things up, like England, the fact that we are not all out for 130 is because we're starting so quickly, even against the likes of Mohammad Siraj, Jasprit Bumrah, who are both brilliant bowlers, and we're not allowing ourselves. I'm speaking like an England fan. I'm so sorry, but England are not allowing themselves to get bogged down. They're trying to take on Ashwin, like Hartley hitting Ashwin for a six, like in his debut Test match, like fantastic. And even then, Ben Stokes throws the ball to Rian Ahmed when there's not many runs left, right? I think there was like 40 runs left, and he's gone, do you know what, Rian? Have a go, see what happens. And there is that entertaining factor to it, and the rolling of the dice. They're kind of mixing Yahtzee and cricket together, and it's just like it's proving entertaining.
It's been pretty good. I mean, like this isn't a comprehensive list, but in the 19 Bazball tests, there've been 18 positive results, which is pretty good if you like winners and losers. England have hit 24 tons and had quite a few tons hit against them. Didn't get the exact number, but 24 in 19 matches is pretty good if that's your tactic. They played probably the most entertaining Ashes series for at least a decade, at least back to 2005, maybe longer, maybe the most entertaining ever in terms of like raw results. They've lost a match by 1 run. I think there's been one other match lost by 1 run, so that was quite entertaining. The series of unbelievable victories in Pakistan, and then obviously this historic reversal on India. It's quite an unprecedented set of results they put together, and I know if you don't support England, it probably grates that this has happened and that people talk about it and say, "Wow, this is incredible." But this is nuts. This is incredible. This is 2 years. We're coming up on 2 years of in quotes Bazball, and it has largely lived up to the billing. I would say. I mean, especially if you juxtapose it against the grind ball series for the West Indies that immediately preceded it. It's astonishing. Another thing that came out of it, Go on, Ross. No, go on. Finish off. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to say, when it comes to not getting carried away, like it's only been one test match, right? I think when I was last on the podcast, it was to the end of day one, and we kind of said, look, England are well up against it, but they're not completely out of this. Like stranger things have happened, and little did we know this is kind of where we ended up. But I think India are a force to be reckoned with. That there is a big chance that England still get going to lose 3-1, 4-1 based upon what India do next. But this proves that they can be got at. And this also proves that we might not be able to go completely toe-to-toe with all of their spin bowlers, but we can put up a pretty good fight. And I think that is going to give them an awful lot of confidence. And it also might play into the pitch psyche discussion, which is some of my favourite bits when we're going to India. Because everyone's just like, oh, they can't put out spinning turners now because they're going to get out, but it does add a whole new element to the politics of it, and I just think it's brilliant entertainment on and off the field.
Another thing that sort of came out of the first test was a kind of revisionist history of Ollie Pope's 196. Max and I talked about it a little bit. I think it was the most false shots played in a century ever. So he ended up playing 75 false shots across.
What does that mean?
The 196, like where he didn't hit the ball where he meant to, or he missed it when he was trying to hit it. That's basically what a false shot is. But here's what you need to know with a false shot: about 1 in 10 times you play one, you get out. So some people have been saying Ollie Pope got extraordinarily lucky here, and I think Max and I and Dan acknowledge that, and you know, if you're going to turn around a 190 run defeat, you're going to need a slice of luck, and this is where England got their pretty healthy slice of luck. But bigger picture, that metric doesn't work that well for England at the moment. Like if you look at old Test cricket, if you were the team that played least in control, so you were fucking up more often when you tried to play a shot, you lost about 70% of matches. There's a little bit of luck in there, so you still won 30% of the time. But if you were the lesser of the controlled batting lineups, you lost 70% of the time. England, no, it doesn't work like that. It's the other way around. The more out of control they get, well, that's probably an exaggeration, but being out of control doesn't really seem to make any difference to their results. And I think to come back on that revisionist point of view, I think the way Ollie Pope went about his innings, and I'd be interested to hear whether you agree with this, gave himself the best chance of getting the slice of luck that he needed. And that is, in a sense, the ethos of Bazball.
Yeah, I think being proactive and having your own game plan for it. And you actually saw it wasn't just Ollie Pope. I thought actually, like in some instances, there were some bloody brilliant deliveries the different batsmen got, and at least people going out batting to their game plan, batting in a what's the word? Kind of in an environment that is kind of suiting them, and going, if they fail, doing what they think is the best thing to do, then they're going to be supported on that. It was kind of what Owen Morgan's mantra was when the kind of white ball revolution of the team of saying, like, I don't want you getting out playing a forward defensive. I want you getting out and being caught on the boundary. And if you're Moeen Ali and you're trying to take down a spinner and you've hit 2 sixes, 3 sixes in a row, and you go for another one down the ground and get caught, like, do you know what? At the end of the day, like, you're doing something that you thought was going to pay off. And I think like you having some of that psyche into this test team has breathed fresh life into some of these players' careers. Like Ollie Pope, genuinely, like he couldn't play cricket against Nathan Lyon. Like it just looked like he'd never done it. He's got out to Ashwin plenty of times as well. Here, he gave himself every opportunity to get himself into the right positions. Yeah, take a risk, but that's what batting is, especially on those kind of pitches. If you just try and play defensive shots all the time against Akshar Patel, and he rolls one through that doesn't bounce like the one against Folkes, then what are you going to do? Here, the little scoop over his head, like that wasn't a premeditated, I'm going to scoop this as fine as I possibly can do. He adjusted himself, was there completely in the game, and it was pretty spectacular, if I'm perfectly honest.
It did work really well. Ross, I said that we had some predictions to revisit. Can I play you a little clip of our own Max Rowe-Brown? If you don't mind. Right, hold on 1 second. Who's going to be the top run scorer
Here we go.
in the upcoming series, and why?
Right, well, let's we take the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go for Virat Kohli. So I guess I'll go with Akshar Patel because he's done it before. Why not?
Time for player of the series, Max.
I'm going to go Ravi Jadeja.
Max, your call on flop of the series.
For me, I think it's going to be history repeating itself, and the phantom of Ravi Ashwin is once again going to be all over poor old Ollie Pope.
Now we get to the juicy bit. What's the score going to be?
Score. Yeah. Well, 5-0.
That's Max rowe-brown's predictions. If you didn't get that, I think I might have talked over just the beginning of it. Virat Kohli for most runs, Akshay Patel for most wickets, Jadeja for player of the series, Ollie Pope for flop of the series, and he thought India would win 5-0. So just to run through what's happened with that, Virat Kohli's out for the first 2 tests. Akshay Patel got belted around. Jadeja is out for the next test and was also run out at a pivotal moment in the run chase, as well as going for quite a few runs himself. Ollie Pope hit 196, and 5-0 is now no longer possible. So, we can take the small victories while he isn't here, I think. Great from Pope. I don't know if you saw, I tweeted this up from the main account on our Twitter or X. I think I'm just going to keep calling it Twitter.
Yeah.
Ollie Pope, do you want to know his averages against the different types of spin? Because it's changed. He now averages 47 v slow left arm, 48 v leg spin, and 32 v off spin. So for a player who, probably 2 years ago, we'd rightly have written off as a guy who can't play spin, there's probably an argument at this point in time to at least reassess that narrative. At least be like, well, he might not be awful, and in some circumstances, he might actually be pretty good. Now, I'm not here saying that I'm expecting Ollie Pope to get 196 in the next match. He might not even get. He might only get 150 in the rest of the series or something like that. But in a sense, his series now. Worst case scenario, it's going to be a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, he won a game, right? He won a game.
Yeah,
that's his contribution won England this Test match. As much as we've taken kind of the other 10 wickets, without Ollie Pope, they wouldn't have got there. And I think the way in which he also batted with the lower order as well, I thought was quite interesting. There was enough trust there, but there was some kind of game management of that. And I think before we've talked about England's game management sometimes being lacking, especially when we've kind of thrown away leads. But here, it was impressive. And you saw the vice captain stepping up for a big daddy innings. So well done, Ollie Pope.
Yeah, Ross, that's probably all we need to say about the first test. We did 3 shows on it. If you want to get a little bit more reaction, I'll point you in the direction of our wrap-up of day 4, where we, reacted to what we'd just seen, and it was good. Last question for you. Where does it rank in your pantheon of favourite test matches?
I didn't get to watch all of it because I was busy being the best man at a wedding. Speech went very well for those wondering. Got a few laughs here and there, but overall, it's pretty mega. Right, going to India with the team that they've got is pretty impressive. I'm not sure it's beats Headingley for me. I still think Ben Stokes' day was pretty spectacular against that bowling lineup, and I think that not having kind of Virat Kohli in India's lineup is kind of a big factor in what was achieved. But yeah, definitely in the top 3 is what I would say in terms of our lifetime, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We're going to wrap up part 1 now, and then we'll come back with a little preview of the second test. Just a reminder to everyone, if you like our stuff, you can head over to patreon.com/thecricketpod, and you can subscribe to fund us directly. I think that's basically what it is. And there's some bonus content there, some extra podcasts, a Discord channel, bits like that. And also you get our appreciation, which is what this is all about, right?
It sure is.
Getting validation from us. Definitely how this dynamic works. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with part 2.